The 80s were full of stars who seemed like they'd last forever. But some of the biggest voices of the decade disappeared from the charts almost as fast as they arrived. From Bond themes to outrageous haircuts, Grammy winners to global mega hits. Here's what happened to 7 singers who ruled the 80s, then faded away. Gloria Estefan and Miami Sound Machine owned the back half of the 80s. Conga made your parents attempt line dancing at weddings. Rhythm Is Gonna Get You was inescapable. Every aerobics class, every mall, every car commercial. By the early 90s, Gloria had 10 top 10 hits. Then came the 90s bus crash that nearly paralyzed her, and while she made an inspiring comeback with Coming Out of the Dark, the charts had moved on. Grunge and hip-hop were exploding. Miami Sound Machine suddenly felt like another era. She pivoted to Broadway, Spanish-language albums, even a cookbook. She's worth $500 million now, but as far as mainstream American pop goes, she went from everywhere to nowhere almost overnight. But if Gloria was bringing Latin pop to America, the next star was all about Hollywood glamour, with a Bond theme to prove it. Sheena Easton had one of the strangest career arcs of the decade. She started with Morning Train 9 to 5, different than Dolly Parton's 9 to 5, which confused radio programmers. Then came For Your Eyes Only, and she became the only Bond theme performer ever to appear on screen in the film's opening credits. By mid-decade, she was working with Prince, singing about sugar walls, which was definitely not about walls or sugar. She had 5 top 10 hits, 2 Grammys, and seemed unstoppable. Then the 90s hit and Sheena evaporated. Vegas residencies, voice acting, yes, that was her in All Dogs Go to Heaven too, and nostalgia tours. Respectable work, but a long way from Bond girl. The woman once everywhere on radio now has a website that looks like it hasn't been updated since 2003. Of course, not everyone slipped away quietly. Some vanished, and then came back in the weirdest way possible. Rick Astley was supposed to be Britain's answer to Luther Vandross. Stock Aitken Waterman, the hit factory behind Kylie Minogue and Bananarama, turned this Lancashire T-boy into a global sensation. Never Gonna Give You Up hit #1 in 25 countries. He was 21, looked 14, and sang like he was 40. The disconnect was mesmerizing. He sold around 15-20 million records by age 27, and then walked away. Just quit. Wanted to raise his daughter, didn't want fame anymore, disappeared for the entire 90s. Then in 2007, the internet discovered him. Rickrolling became the first great YouTube meme. Suddenly, Rick was everywhere again, except this time as a punchline. Instead of fighting it, he leaned in. He toured, released new albums that charted, and turned memehood into a second career. That's resilience. But some stars never got the chance to stage a comeback. Their time in the spotlight ended abruptly. Falco gave us Rock Me Amadeus, the only German-language song to ever hit #1 in America. Think about that. In 1986, US radio was playing a rap about Mozart in German, with powdered wigs and synthesizers. Completely insane and completely perfect. Falco was Austria's answer to Bowie. Der Kommissar was already a club hit, but Amadeus made him global. 2 weeks at #1, then nothing, at least in America. His follow-ups were big in Europe, invisible here. Americans decided one Austrian rap song about a classical composer was enough. He spiraled, depression, substance abuse, and in 1998, he died in a car crash in the Dominican Republic at 40. In Austria, they named a street after him. In America, most people under 40 don't even know he's gone. If Falco's story was tragic, the next star's career was just chaotic, full of scandals, reinventions, and comebacks. Boy George and Culture Club were everywhere in 1983. Do You Really Want to Hurt Me made parents very uncomfortable. Was this a boy? A girl? Why the makeup? Karma Chameleon hit #1 in the US for 1 week and was the UK's best-selling single of 1983, spending 6 weeks at #1 there. They sold 50 million records in 3 years. Then came heroin, arrests, tabloid scandals. By 1986, Culture Club was done. George's solo career sputtered. The 90s were rough. More drugs, jail, community service, and an ankle monitor. But George is unsinkable. He became a successful DJ, wrote a Broadway musical, reinvented himself as a fashion icon, and ended up judging The Voice around the world. Today, Culture Club tours again, selling out theaters. Not bad for someone the tabloids wrote off as dead 20 years ago. And while Boy George reinvented himself, some stars simply slipped out of view completely. Kim Carnes had the voice of someone who gargled whiskey and cigarettes for breakfast, and in 1981, that was exactly what America wanted. Betty Davis' Eyes spent 9 weeks at #1, the year's biggest song. Betty Davis herself sent Kim roses. But massive hits can kill careers. Nothing after came close. Draw of the Cards hit the top 30. Everything else flopped. By 1985, she shifted into songwriting.
Don't hesitate, make love, don't wait.
Hits for Reba McEntire, Vince Gill, and others. These days, she lives quietly in Nashville, occasionally singing Betty Davis' Eyes, for fans who remember when MTV played music videos. One song made her immortal and irrelevant at the same time. And finally, one of the most iconic voices of the decade, and one of the most dramatic fades from the spotlight. Belinda Carlisle went from Go-Go's punk princess to solo superstar to, well, complicated. The Go-Go's were the first all-female band who wrote their own songs to have a #1 album. We Got the Beat, Our Lips Are Sealed, anthems for girls who didn't fit in. When the band imploded in 1985, cocaine, jealousy, the usual, Belinda went solo. Mad About You proved she could make it alone. Then, Heaven is a Place on Earth hit #1 with a video directed by Diane Keaton, because the 80s were weird like that she seemed poised for Madonna-level superstardom, but the 90s weren't kind. Albums stalled, she moved to France, and she became bigger in Europe than the US.
Baby, when you look for me, can you see?
She later lived in Bangkok, Thailand, but as of Belinda resides in Mexico City with her husband. Today she does Go-Go's reunions, solo tours, and practices Buddhism. She later admitted to a 30-year cocaine addiction nobody knew about. The California girl who sang about heaven on earth found it, apparently, by leaving California. So that's 7 singers who ruled the 80s and then faded away. Some found second acts, some disappeared almost entirely, and some left us too soon. Which one surprised you the most, and who did I miss? Terrence Trent D'Arby, anyone? Drop your pick in the comments. And if you think the 80s were wild, wait until we jump into the stars of the 90s next time. We're talking Meredith Brooks, Eagle Eye Cherry, and whatever happened to the guy who sang Mambo No. 5. Hit subscribe if you want to witness that beautiful disaster.